Hi, everybody. Mr. Johnson here, and we're talking about another episode of the Artist Gallery. So if you are one of my students, make sure that you have your sketchbook, artist images, scissors, and a glue stick, a writing utensil ready, so we can cut and paste these pictures for this week's artist into that sketchbook and take the notes down that appear on the screen alongside each image as we talk about it. All right? So I hope you're ready for it. We're going to dive right into this week's artist, and we are talking about Claes Oldenburg. So make sure you get your Claes Oldenburg images, and we're ready to talk about him. So put this information up on the screen. Claes Oldenburg is a pop artist, and he's most widely associated with the pop art movement of the 1960s, working in the United States. He is an American and Swedish citizen. He was born January 29th in 1929 in Stockholm, Sweden, but then he moved to Chicago and grew up in Chicago in the United States. Claes Oldenburg is still alive, which is fantastic, at least at the time I'm recording this video, he is. He is best known for his public art installations that typically feature large replicas of everyday objects. Another theme in his work is soft sculpture, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I'll show you some examples of that. Oldenburg now lives and works in New York City. Like I said, he grew up in Chicago. And many of his works were made in collaboration with his second wife, Kusha van Bruggen, who died in 2009. They'd been married for 32 years. Claes Oldenburg studied literature and art history at Yale University. He returned to Chicago, and he took classes at the School of Art Institute at Chicago. And his first recorded sales of artwork were at the 57th Street Art Fair in Chicago, where he sold 5 items for a total price of $25. So even starting out really small, you can still make it big, which I think is great. In the year 2000, he was awarded the National Medal of Arts, which is a high honor for artists in the United States to win. It's awarded by the President of the United States. So let's dive in and look at some of his sculptures, because I think they're really, really fascinating. No, I lied. Before we do that, there is a short video. It's less than 2 minutes long. Just gives a little introduction to some of his work, and you can see some of the different things that Claes Oldenburg is known for creating. So we'll take a look at some of these. Again, it's very, very quick, and we'll see how it goes. I just played this right before I recorded the video to test it, and it worked right away. So, of course, now when I'm recording, it does not want to play. It's just, there we go.
I
Nailed
have
it.
a propensity to like common things.
These things are vehicles, structural vehicles for expression.
The attraction for ordinary things must go back to something very personal. The street was the theme that I was working on. What fascinated me when I came to New York was the way the people tried to express themselves. Another source of inspiration became the stores along the street.
Well, let's talk about softness. When did it all start? Why did it all start?
I was after a quality of touch, because I believe in touch very much.
You can imagine this being pushed against people.
We don't allow that. We don't allow that here.
I think gravity is a formal theme that recurs in the work all the time. Every sculpture attempts to rise like a balloon. At the same time, it's pulled down. I resent gravity very much because I really would like to fly, as we would all like to fly.
We all would. Oh, I think that's great. So the very last sculpture that showed, I said that was a very, very quick introduction, was this one. And if you're in my class, this is the first image you should include in your sketchbook for the Claes Oldenburg page. This is a giant installation sculpture called Spoon Bridge and Cherry. It was created in 1988. This is permanently located in the Minneapolis Sculpture Garden. The piece was completed and installed in 1988 for the Sculpture Garden's official opening. The piece was fabricated the year before, beginning in 1987, at two shipyards, one in Maine and the other in Rhode Island, and it was assembled together in Connecticut. This thing was built all over the place, and it lives now in Minnesota. Spoonbridge and Cherry was entirely repainted in 1995 because it is an outdoor piece. You know, the paint and things erode a little bit. So it was repainted in 1995. It measures 30 by 52 feet. So it's wild. It's 30 feet tall by 52 feet long. The cherry on top, just the cherry portion, weighs 1,199 pounds. And the spoon is almost 6,000 pounds. I think that's insane. It's made all of stainless steel and then painted. And the cherry stem, the very top of the cherry stem here, sprays water and mist water out. And it does that for a few reasons. It keeps the sculpture clean because it sprays water from the top of it. And it also keeps the sculpture glossy and shiny. It makes it that it always looks like the cherry is gleaming in the light, which I think is really cool. It also changes its look based on the season. So Minneapolis gets a lot of snow in the winter. So in the wintertime, when there's snow and ice piled up on the spoon and on the cherry, it gives it a look of, ice cream or whipped cream up there on the spoon. So I think that's really, really cool. So I love these sculptures by Claes Oldenburg. He did do this one with his wife at the time, Kusha van Bruggen. So they worked on this together. And it's a great example of Claes Oldenburg's artwork because he likes to take ordinary objects and change the scale. He makes them huge, right? What would be a regular spoon and a little cherry, he makes them gigantic. And that's part of the fun, is taking these ordinary objects and changing the way you look at them. That's what the pop art movement was all about. It was all about ordinary objects. So I think that that's a great example of the pop art movement in this piece. This is another great example of that, although this one was completed more recently. This is called Dropped Cone from 2001, and it's located in Cologne, Germany, at the Newmarket Gallery. And this is a stainless steel, along with fiber-enforced plastic, painted sculpture that is 39 feet, 10 inches high, 19 feet in diameter, and it hangs 32 feet over the top of this building that oversees this market in Germany. So it was installed in 2001, also designed in conjunction with his wife at the time. She chose the bright white vanilla flavor. They had talked about different flavors of the ice cream for this sculpture, and it was his wife who went with the vanilla. And I think this is really cool because it's on this precarious angle, right? It's leaning off the front corner of the building. So it really gives the look of a cone that's been dropped and is dripping down the side of the building. You can see that these sculpted drips on here that cover a little bit of the windows in the corner. I think that's really cool. And that angle makes it look so precarious. So I think that it's a lot of fun. Claes Oldenburg said that he was playing with the look of the spires of cathedrals in Germany. Germany is filled with Gothic cathedrals, which have these tall, pointed tops called spires on their towers. And so he took the shape of that, and he was inspired by that to create his own spire, but his is a giant ice cream cone. So I thought that was cool. That must be fun, too, walking around there and looking up and just seeing this giant cone. Here's another one that you can include in your sketchbook for my class. This is giant BLT, right? Bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich, created in 1963. And this is an example of one of Claes Oldenburg's soft sculptures. It's made of vinyl fabric. It's one of the earliest of Oldenburg's big sculptural works. He did a lot of food sculptures early on, which I think are fantastic. And he's made these out of this vinyl, which was very new at the time. It's shiny. It's a really like thick, heavy material, and it holds its shape. And he actually made every piece of this separately. So whenever it's moved or brought to a new location for display, they take the entire thing apart. So the slices of bread, the lettuce, the tomatoes, the bacon, even the toothpick in the center, they're all separate, and then it gets reassembled at each location, which I think is really cool. So he worked with his first wife to make this sculpture, a woman named Patty Mucha, and she did a lot of the sewing, where he did the designing and choosing the materials. And he said vinyl was new at the time, so this was a pretty cool thing. This is large, so it's like a giant beanbag, obviously with a wooden spike in the middle, so don't jump on it or impaled. Then there are two others that you do not have that I want to show you, because I think they're fun, along with the soft sculpture theme. This is Soft Toilet from 1966, which he did soon after. And again, just the idea of taking ordinary, regular objects that everyone's used to, but turning them into a funny art piece. So by making it out of vinyl, it all droops and sags. I just think it's really funny. And then here, Clothespin, made in 1976. This is a sculpture in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. It's become a staple of the Philadelphia area. And this was installed there, again, the regular objects made into giant sculptures, which I think is pretty cool. But this is my favorite other one. You don't have this either. This is called Flying Pins from 2000. This is a sculpture in the Netherlands, and obviously he plays with scale, again, making these small things gigantic. You can see the size of these pins next to the trees, but they're huge, right? And all on different angles. It looks like they're flying as they've been hit by this bowling ball. They're all, made of heavy steel and obviously all attached together, but it gives the illusion that they're moving, which I think is pretty awesome. And then the final piece that you have, if you're one of my students, is this one called Shoestring Potatoes, made in 1966. And this is about gravity and everyday objects. So this is also one of the earlier soft sculptures, like the giant BLT sandwich. He made a bunch of food sculptures at this time made out of fabric. And here it's meant to look like these fries, right, are spilling out of the bag. They're all attached to each other in this way that it looks like they're falling, but it's all attached as one piece. So let's end by listening to Claes Oldenburg tell us a little bit about this piece in his own words. This is a 2-minute video where he talks about how and why he created the shoestring potatoes spilling from the bag. Again, of course, I tested this video in the beginning, worked just fine. Now that I'm actually recording, we're getting the spinny circle. But I just think his artwork is fun. It's not serious. It's not about deep meanings. It's just fun and exciting and entertaining, and it makes you laugh when you look at it. It's one of the reasons I like it so much. All right, here we go. I hope you enjoy this. I think this is great.
Well, in the first place, I can't really explain why I like things like French fries.
You like French fries?
I don't like to eat them. But I can't explain exactly.
I think spill them.
I've always been attracted by ordinary things. Perhaps
all different
I was
sculptures
rebelling
of
against
his.
Things that were represented to me as being extraordinary.
When I did those French fries or those shoestring potatoes, I was attempting to reconstruct the architecture of shoestring potatoes, knowing that it has a crisp exterior and a soft interior.
I was after a quality of touch, because I believe in touch very much, and a quality of touch that was slightly crackly and crispy, like a French fry would be.
I don't know, every time you come here, you seem to think it's hung at the wrong height.
Well, I think it's in the nature of this piece to be a little bit unsettled. I think it can be, hung and seen in very different ways, because after all, it depicts something in motion.
You can kind of shake it and move it around, and you can have all sorts of different forms as a result. It's about gravity, really. It's the use of gravity to create form.
I love it. I think it's great. Yeah. Love it. I think it's awesome. All right, so that'll do it for our Claes Oldenburg Artist Gallery page. So if you are one of my students, make sure you take a photo of that page and you can submit it to the Artist Gallery assignment. And in the text box, tell me about this journal entry question. What role does scale play in art? How does changing the size of something change the way we view it? This is something Claes Oldenburg is known for, and he does with every single one of his sculptures. He changes the scale of them, making small objects large. So what does that do? How does that affect the way that we view something? Right? So let me know your thoughts. To what role does scale play in art? How does changing the size of something change the way we view it? Let me know. And again, if you are enjoying Claes Oldenburg's artwork, please check out more of his pieces. He has lots and lots of really fun sculptures out there. And I hope you enjoy this little introduction to Claes Oldenburg.